I would suggest that if you're serious about going raw, on the way back tonight, stop by and get some from community college, some schedule of events, or take some free magazine that tells about all kind of different clubs and whatever going on here in Toronto, and look for something that really sounds very good to you, and begin to take classes like how to write and illustrate children's books. This is a very interesting class that I took, wonderful. And voice lessons, I really suggest. When I used to have retreats, I would always invite a person who will teach voice lessons to the whole group, and people never even knew that they loved to take voice lessons. And then when I asked to evaluate, then in the end they would always say that that was everybody's favorite thing in the whole retreat, this voice lesson from all the other entertainment. So please pay attention that that's a very important step, and it's easy to do, and it's very pleasant to do, and just don't miss it, okay? And I think now we are to our spiritual steps, okay? So, to follow your heart, You know, I heard this saying, these words, follow your heart, so many times, and I never really listened to it. It didn't ever come through. And the first time I heard about this, when I asked Dr. Jensen, when I told you that when my mother was dying from bone cancer, and then her last words were, I wasted my whole life. When her phrase really dramatically moved me and my husband, and then we were thinking, we are wasting our life. I'm wasting my life. How do I supposed to live my life? And I was having so many questions, and I remember I had the question, how to make a choice in life. And I remember I asked that question Dr. Bernard Jensen. I said, how do you make choices? And he was such a sweet and sincere person, and he said, oh, that is easy. I said, to make choices easy? And he said, oh yes. I said, so how do you do that? He said, you just ask your heart, and your heart, not your brain, your heart will tell you what you need to do. Your brain might be very, very against it, but do what your heart tells and you'll never make a mistake. And somehow this time I heard him. And then I shared it with Igor, and I shared it with my children, and we discussed it, and we were all fascinated by the simplicity of that. And right next day after that, it was in San Diego area, there was a presentation. Some doctor was teaching how to do long time hikes. And then he was saying that for every 100 miles you have to eat 2 pounds of M&Ms. Otherwise you'll have too little carbohydrates and you will become too skinny. And every time you cross a little village or little town, you have to go and eat 2 gallons of ice cream. And every time you turn around in your sleep, you have to take a bite from Power Bar. Otherwise you'll just lose too much weight. The problem of losing weight is very, very big in hikers. Many hikers, 2,000 hikers attempted every year to do the hike, and only 200 finished. The rest of them, most of them, stop because they lose too much weight. And we were listening to this doctor. We started to have this excitement inside of our hearts. And I looked at Igor and I read in his eyes, we're going. And we looked at our kids and we read in his eyes, we're going too. We knew we're going on some kind of a hike. We didn't know where exactly and when. The only question I had was will it be this year, which will be like in 2 months, or next year? And then somebody else took the mic and he said how much it costs to take a hike, and he said it takes minimum $2,000 per hiker to do a hike, and we didn't have no money. In fact, we maybe had $5. We didn't have no equipment, no gear, no shoes, nothing, and no supplies. Well, the raw food community of San Diego were so excited about us going on a hike as a family on a raw food diet that they said, we'll do fundraising for you. We'll let you do the dinner and we'll just send a head around. So from the dinner and from the head, we got $800. We were able to buy some important gear like compasses. The date people donated us dates. Second standard quality dates, middle dates, 5 dates per person per day. And I read in the book about Thailand monks that they eat 5 dates per person per day. And I thought, well, if they survive on 5 dates per day, we should be able to. At least we have minimum. So, and then some raw fooders in the Napa Valley in San Diego, they traded massage with Igor for some equipment. If you ever heard of Helene Ideals, who is the godmother of raw food of San Diego, she gave me her own sleeping bag. And so if you look at the picture in Raw Family, the very first picture at the Mexican border, where we just stand in our first day, ready to go, you'll see that we all stand in there bare feet. Have you noticed that? We didn't have any shoes. We couldn't afford shoes. We decided we're not going to need the big shoes, like, you know, with $500 professional shoes, plus they're so heavy. We wanted Tiva sandals, but they're $100 a pair. So we started we felt like we were just drawn to hike. We felt like we have to go. Now, the year that we've chosen was El Nino. Our brain was telling us, you're crazy. How can you go in El Nino year? It's going to be 75% rain. But we just couldn't stop. We knew we were going. Now, we were staying with our friend Wayne Shelton. We were supposed to be. We scheduled. We had schedule. And we sent the mail drops along the way according to schedule. We were supposed to leave on the 15th of April, but we left on the 3rd of April in the pouring rain under cats and dogs raining. And we said, so take us to the trail. And he said, well, you don't have to go. There are 2 more weeks and it's raining. Guys, are you not comfortable in my house? And we said, don't ask us. And I remember how Igor said, well, we're going to get wet anyway, so who cares? Well, it doesn't make no difference. So Wayne took us on the trail and waved us goodbye, and we went in the rain, and we didn't have rainproof coats, so we were wearing garbage bags, plastic garbage bags. And so we were hiking for 2 weeks like we were dedicated to do something. We didn't know what was that, and in 2 weeks we came right in time to meet the man who was committing suicide on a hot spring. There was a man sitting in a warm tub with a razor blade right to his wrist at the moment when we appeared. And it's interesting that after that we kind of slowed down. So when we came, and Sergei was the one who found him, and we were working around campfire, and suddenly Sergei comes from the bushes with a naked man, and he says, sorry, I didn't want to scare you. And Sergei whispered to me in Russian what was happening. So when Sergei found him in this hot springs, he didn't know what to talk about. He was at that time 12 years old. He started to talk about raw food. And suddenly this man was fascinated, and so he came and he said, your son told me something about raw food. And then he told us that he got this sickness. He was very, very ill person, and he was so tired of his pain that he decided to kill himself. And also he became depressed, and then he asked us, do you think raw food could help me? And I said, I'm sure it can. It helped anybody I know so far. And he said, would you go and live with me in my house for 3 days, not far from here, and teach me everything? I'll pay you really good money for that. Well, and of course, you know, we don't want to take it on your karma that somebody's going to kill himself. And so we said, yes, sure, we go. And we taught him how to make different things, and he took us to different health food stores. It was funny. We were just walking through the wilderness, didn't hear any cars or anything, and here somebody's taking us to this, well, we taught him everything. I can only tell you that he's still alive and he's feeling better than ever. He doesn't have any pain. What was that? Okay, and then we continued.